Hello and welcome back. My name is Patrick Amon, and I am here right beside Trevor Rosberg for the second semifinal match of the Memphis Regionals. Trevor, how do you feel?
Looking at these teams, we might be seeing a mirror match depending on how this second half finishes, because as many people who have seen these regionals before know, Jeremy and Ashton being best friends, basically running the same teams for a lot of things. So depending how this goes, we may see a mirror match final, which would be definitely interesting.
That will be very, very interesting. Now, so as you said earlier, Jeremy is running the exact same team as Ashton, which is Xerneas Lunala, Smeargle Incineroar, Toxicroak, and what was it?
Crobat.
Yes. Now, Max is running something a bit different. He has Kyogre Incineroar, Raichu Kartana, and Amoonguss Xerneas. All right.
As we see, we are heading into team preview with the players right now. Interesting to see what they're going to pick. I think it's fairly safe to say that Amoonguss is going to be a key player here, but we did see that it does have the Pyapa Berry, being able to help it out from a Psy Shock coming from the Lunala if it does come. So Lunala is most likely going to be a big factor this game by pressuring Psy Shocks and Moongeist Beams. So the big counter, though, that Max is going to be having, obviously, is Knockoff coming from this Incineroar, most likely. And the Kartana, depending on what it is, since we did see Focus Sash in his last set on the Raichu, which means it's likely going to be Assault Vest on the Kartana. So it also probably has Knockoff as well.
That makes a lot of sense, Trevor. I mean, like, that Kartana puts in a lot of pressure on a lot of Jeremy's team, if what you're saying is true, and it is carrying Knockoff. It has Smart Strike for the Xerneas, Sacred Sword for both Incineroar and Smeargle, and then Knockoff for that Lunala.
Another interesting thing, though, is we do know it is Lovely Kiss Smeargle, and anything can happen with Lovely Kiss Smeargle. That's 75% accurate sleep, knowing that nothing's safe from it. Nothing that doesn't have insomnia or is sitting behind a substitute, at least. All
right, we do see Max already locked in, and I'm wondering what he's going to be leading with this game. I'm not sure if we will be seeing the Kyogre because of that Toxicroak, because if it comes down to it, if it is choiced and he locks himself into a water move, it won't be able to do so too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Going for water moves and even just having it in general, I think it's safe to say he's probably going to leave it on the bench. Probably the same exact thing. Maybe the Raichu comes, maybe not, but I think the Amoonguss, Incineroar, Kartana, and Xerneas are the likely four to be seeing from Max.
However,
we do actually see the Raichu hit the field, maybe wanting to pressure with Nuzzles then.
Yeah, he may be trying to do something similar as he did last game, was trying to nuzzle the Xerneas, trying to prevent any Geomancies from coming up, and as well as slowing it down so he can easily take care of it.
Absolutely. And by looking at these health totals, though, from these two, I think it's safe to say that it is Assault Vest Kartana for sure, because normally it is sitting at around 134 if it's not offensive at all, so we can probably assume this one's safely.
All right, now we may be seeing the trade of fake outs right here. Oh, we do see the Protect coming out from the Xerneas, not wanting to catch a fake out from that Raichu or a Smart Strike.
So just double shields coming up in order to make sure that no damage is coming out, which could catch the Raichu on the fake out, and it does, which means that this Focus Sash will be broken on this Raichu.
And Smart Strike going into the Xerneas, being protected this turn, and the Moody firing off on the Smeargle.
So special attack not doing anything here, and speed drop is going to be important. Since we obviously don't know how fast this Kartana is, it could be, if it is super bulky and offensive, it might not have the speed to back it up, but most likely going to outspeed Smeargle naturally, so the speed drop doesn't matter too much against these two Pokemon, but something like Incineroar in the back could definitely make a huge factor.
I do believe we may see the Xerneas swap right here, just because it does get pressure from the Nuzzle and a Smart Strike. Oh, never mind. We will be seeing the Follow Me from the Smeargle, tracking all of the moves to it.
Just wanting to ensure that we do see the Geomancy go off here, I guess, from his side. So this comes out, and most likely a Smart Strike to finish off this Smeargle now. So giving the +1. So now +1 on this Kartana. So if Incineroar doesn't come in, it is possibly pressuring Xerneas with a straight kill from Smart Strike.
All right, and if what you said it is true, if it is Assault Vested, it may or may not live the Moonblast depending on the investment.
Yeah, definitely. That's usually a benchmark people do strive for, though, is being able to take the +2 Moonblast. That's one of the big reasons it's run. Same with Water Spouts on Kyogre. Those are usually the main things that you're trying to be able to calc for. So probably safe to say it can take at least one, and Jeremy probably knows this going into the next turn.
All right, and we will see another fake out user come out in the form of Toxicroak, being able to pressure that Kartana into possibly swapping out if it does want to stay around and possibly try and pick up the knockout on Xerneas.
And something we did see before is that it is low kick and not drain punch on the Toxicroak in the previous set. So we do know that low kick going into Kartana is only going to be 20 base power because of how light it is. So it's not going to be able to do too much if it does stay in, but we do just see the fake out into it and a substitute straight out go from right now. So
and we will see
I guess protecting itself from the Nuzzle, which makes sense. So obviously the damage not going to do anything with Nuzzle being such a low base power attack.
That is very true, Trevor. Now, we are going to have to wonder, what is Max going to do in this situation? Because you do have a setup Xerneas behind a substitute, and you also have this Toxicroak just sitting here. And the question is, does Jeremy have the Lunala in the back? We're just waiting to come in at the right time and possibly psych up all those stat changes. So Max will have to play around that and maybe try to swap Resurrector to preserve his own fake out.
As we do just see the Moonblast most likely going into this Kartana, however, just opting to take out the Raichu cleanly, I guess. Wanting to make sure that maybe the Kartana going for it just to make sure that this will break this. No. Opts to not even go for the substitute and just straight kill
critical hit
Toxicroak instead with a critical hit.
I mean, that's actually very good, eliminating two of Jeremy's fake out users right off the bat. So now Jeremy's down to 2 mons while Max is still sitting at 3. So we're just going to have to see.
As we do see Xerneas come in from Max's side, as Eclipse comes in from the other side, which...
All right, so we can probably expect maybe a possible Geomancy and Psych Up on this turn. And the question is, what is the Kartana going to do? Is it going to try and target that Lunala before it tries to set up? Or will it try to break that substitute on the Xerneas?
As we do see Moonblast come off, most likely going into the Kartana to at least try and kill it. And it does kill it, showing that it's not bulky enough or that's a super offensive Xerneas being able to straight kill it. As Moongeist Beam does come out into the Xerneas slot now.
Yeah. Now, I think Max really needs to see how he's going to play around game 2, especially with that substitute Xerneas right there. But he is setting up with his own Geomancy, trying to bring back the game and possibly take out Jeremy's last 2 Pokemon.
Now, depending on what's in the back, this can definitely play a huge factor, because if we do have something similar to like a Moongus in the back, this will make things interesting, because we do know that Psyshock is a common move on Lunala, which could potentially kill it, but we do know that the Pyop is there.
Oh, we
as
will see
Incineroar is the last member of the team to come in.
So, I wonder, I believe we may just see this Incineroar go for the knockoff onto the Lunala just to try and knock it out this turn, because the fake out isn't going to cause Xerneas to flinch since it is behind a substitute. And the question is, where is Max going to have his Xerneas target with a Moonblast?
Yeah, from this situation, he's definitely in a risky spot, because the substitute's proving how much work substitute can actually put in on Xerneas. You lose something like your Spread Dazzling Gleam, but the fact of the matter that you are able to protect yourself safely from behind it. So Moonblast going into Incineroar now.
That's not enough to live.
Just straight killing the Incineroar, showing that, knowing that it is Assault Vest Kartana, that it's got to be a berry, so you can safely kill it if it is.
All right, we will see a Moonblast going into the substitute, most likely breaking this. Now the question is, will this Lunala psych up this turn?
And we do see the Psych Up come up, which means it will be taking the stat changes here from the Xerneas in order to make it also have all the +2 changes, but the fact that it does have Psyshock means that this game's over and that Jeremy is safely able to clean this one up by having a Lunala as well.
And we did see Max hover over the forfeit button, and these two players are going to be going into game 2 right now.
Yep.
So Trevor, if you were in Max's position, how would you try to adapt against Jeremy's team?
I think the key member that we've got to be looking into is definitely going to be this Amoonguss. I think Amoonguss is definitely the one mon that I think Max will have to bring in order to try and break through this. We've seen the Clear Smog on it. Obviously, substitute there to counter against Clear Smog by making it so that you don't break this. If you're behind substitute, you don't lose your stat changes, but it's still always there to pressure anything, because it just takes so little damage from Moonblast that you can always be a threat to him.
Yeah, I think the one thing he will have to worry about is the Lunala, because once that Payapa Berry is gone, he's dying to any sort of psychic attack.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no safety from it. If it does drop, if he loses that Payapa Berry, Psyshock can just safely kill it from probably the second hit easily.
I mean, then you also have to wonder, how much will a +2 Psyshock do to an Amoonguss with a Payapa Berry?
I think that might just outright kill it at that point. I think Lunala is just such a strong Pokemon with its high special attack stat that it should be able to cleanly kill it if Psyshock goes off. But Max showing he's ready to go with what he locks in already.
I mean,
we'll see.
We're going to have to see, because that Kartana didn't really put in as much work as we initially expected, and the Raichu just getting, I think, a single nuzzle off before going down. So we're going to have to see how this is going to play out.
Yeah, as we saw, right away, we saw just how much work Spiky Shield on Smeargle could do, because the fact that it did instantly pop the Focus Sash on the Raichu means Raichu no longer gets to be feeling as safe from a Moonblast if the Xerneas on Jeremy's side does get the Geomancy up.
Yeah, and we are heading straight into Game 2. All right, so I believe for Jeremy, like, there isn't much he needs to change with the 4 that he brought, right? Because you have the Xerneas set up, you have the Lunala in the back to copy stat changes late in game, and you have 2 fake-out users, most likely Smeargle and the Toxicroak. The only change-up he may choose is the Incineroar, since the Kyogre was not brought last Smash. Alright, and we will see the Xerneas Smeargle lead from Jeremy, and versus the Xerneas Raichu lead from Max. So double Geomancy and Fake Out from both sides for next turn. So we're going to have to see, will Jeremy try and predict a possible Fake Out onto his Smeargle with another Spiky Shield, or will Max just go straight for a Fake Out onto his opponent's Xerneas?
Yeah, from this point now we're playing the Fake Out game, and obviously Max recognizing how much of an issue the Xerneas was when it got to set up before he could even set his up. So a strong adaptation that he does have, being able to show that he has thought about his game plan for Game 2. Now he knows, obviously we can't let one Xerneas set up and the other one not set up, so we might be seeing a mirror of setups here, but obviously Smeargle going to be the wild card here with just how much it does. As we do see that he just straight changes it out.
Ooh, going into Incineroar, very interesting choice. I'm maybe trying to reduce all the damage taken by any possible fake outs, just to help with any rolls later on in the game.
As we do see Fake Out come out, this time into the Xerneas, and this being huge because now he gets to set up his Geomancy, and next turn, this Incineroar has to make a choice, because Incineroar either has to Fake Out the Nuzzle potentially, or has to Fake Out obviously this +2 Xerneas that's going to start threatening kills.
That's very true. Max has to choose whether he's going to play defensively or offensively next turn due to the Fake Out from Incineroar. And I think that is, like, as we said before, the pro to having 3 Fake Out users on your team, because you just have so many options just to bring in Fake Out, swap out, and Fake Out once more.
However, we do see, though, that the Toxicroak probably not being brought this game now that we do see Incineroar, recognizing that Max does not feel safe to bring his Kyogre, which it might be hidden in the back still, but he doesn't think that, he feels that the Kartana is going to be more of a threat, and that knowing that Toxicroak really can't touch a Kartana if it is running Low Kick and not Drain Punch.
We will see Jeremy choose to break the Focus Sash on the Raichu as his own Xerneas goes straight for the Moonblast, taking
just
out that Incineroar.
Killing out that Incineroar on the opposing side, which means that Geomancy likely going to be coming out here, though. So now we've got the Geomancy set up on both sides, which is going to make things interesting, because most likely going to have Smeargle coming in this next turn to press something like Nuzzle, or to press Follow Me.
I mean, based on what just happened, I do think it's safe to assume that Max does have the Kartana in the back, since he chose to target down the Incineroar rather than the Xerneas.
That's definitely a possibility, but we need to see exactly how much he might be taking, though, because we did see the Moonblast kill from after just Fake Out chip damage last game.
I mean, that's very true, but we could, in the back, Max may be carrying a Moongus Kartana, so he could Rage Powder and then Smart Strike to possibly KO that Jeremy Xerneas.
Absolutely. If that is what's in the back, I think Max might have made a pretty strong adaptation to be able to start to come back in and take game 2 away if that is what he's trying to go for game plan-wise.
All right, Jeremy, finishing his decision as to who he's going to send out. It will be the Smeargle to pressure with more fake out and a possible lovely kiss coming out to put anything to sleep. All right, so both players figuring out what their game plan is for this next set of turns, since Jeremy will be able to use fake out if he so chooses to try and prevent either Max's Xerneas from using a powerful Moonblast, or to maybe try and put it to get some more chip damage onto that Raichu if necessary.
If I'm Jeremy, I'm probably just going straight for the fake out into the Xerneas, as we do see the helping hand come out.
Ooh.
Probably recognizing that it's not going to live the turn as Moonblast comes out, so not even going for a fake out this turn with the Smeargle, meaning it's probably going for a lovely kiss on this onto. But we do see this is a Moonblasted, as we do see it just drops from the helping hand boost.
And we will see a lovely kiss, as you called it, Trevor, coming out from the Smeargle, putting that Xerneas straight to sleep. Now, I do believe if this is similar to the last game, Jeremy will probably have the Lunala in the back just to and he can copy Max's Xerneas' stat changes right now.
Absolutely. Something interesting though is if Max did bring the Amoonguss like we did think though, he can Rage Powder away the Psych Up. Is something that he might be trying to go for here.
That's a very good point. So now Jeremy sort of has to predict, will there be a Rage Powder, or will he just go for a possible Clear Smog, or will he try to Spore Me and try and wait for his own Xerneas to wake up?
So from here we've definitely got the mind game going on of the Smeargle's probably going to just be pressing Lovely Kiss into the Amoonguss slot to try and put it to sleep, because that at least denies any of the offensive pressure. Xerneas here taking its first turn of guaranteed sleep, as we do see Psych Up come up. So if this Lovely Kiss does connect with the Amoonguss, which it does, it cannot go for the Clear Smog that it was likely going for onto the opposing Lunala.
I think this is what I was talking about earlier. Can this Amoonguss live a +2 Psyshock with a Pyapa Berry?
As we
Probably
see
not.
Defense go up and special defense drop, all of these not being too much of the relevant stats that we're looking for, like evasion, accuracy, and speed.
All right, now Max has to hope that his Xerneas can probably wake up. We will see the Psyshock going into the Pyapa Berry holding Amoonguss. Can it live? And it does.
Hang on, thanks to that Pyapa Berry. And Xerneas also wakes up, going for Moonblast into this Lunala.
Going
into the Smeargle, actually. So if Smeargle went for another Lovely Kiss into the Xerneas,
and it does.
It does, and Xerneas is going right back to sleep. But if Amoonguss wakes up this turn, that changes the game. It does wake up and goes for Clear Smog into the Lunala, getting rid of those stat changes and also breaking the Shadow Shield.
I mean, Max getting super lucky with his Xerneas, with both of his Pokemon essentially waking up this turn.
However, a big thing there was the evasion boost, though, from the Smeargle. So now Follow Me is always going to be a big threat.
That's very true. And I mean, what can Max do in this situation? Because you have that, you lost your Pyapa Berry, that Lunala can easily just pressure you with that Psyshock, and you still have this Smeargle sitting on the field. And we will see.
So here we see Incineroar switch in, and Incineroar is actually going to be in a very fine position, because Incineroar just doesn't really care about anything that this Lunala throws at it, since we've seen Psyshock's obviously not going to affect it with Dark typing, and we've also got it being Moongeist Beam being a resisted hit.
And Lunala going for the Psych Up once more, sort of a free turn for it, getting set back up again so it can deal more damage. And
we see the Smeargle hit another Lovely Kiss, going into the Incineroar this time. So
I mean, Jeremy, I think trying to make sure that Max is so far behind that he cannot keep up by just putting all of his Pokemon to sleep.
We see the evasion drop, so now the evasion's only at +1 right now. So something interesting is, if Max switches out here on his Incineroar, he could then go for a Rage Powder the following turn to try and give his Xerneas another turn to wake up. But Psyshock coming out here
Ooh, this is going to
right
be
into
really
the
close.
Xerneas. But it does take the hit, and it wakes up and goes for Moonblast.
Going
And
into Smeargle.
kills the Smeargle here, recognizing that he's had enough of his things being put to sleep with Lovely Kiss.
All right, so now it's Lunala versus Amoonguss, Incineroar, and Xerneas on Max's side. I don't know if Lunala can pull this off, Trevor.
And from here we see that we do know that Moongeist Beam damage is coming out here. Most likely going into just finishing off this Xerneas at this point.
Going into the Incineroar.
Actually, the Incineroar maybe calling a potential Protect here, but obviously no Protect was gone for, so we see the Moonblast damage into the Lunala just doing over 50%. Thanks to the Shadow Shield actually being broken before by the Clear Smog, as Incineroar takes another turn of sleep here, but Jeremy's looking like he's in definitely the uphill position, since either one of these attack coming off does seal the game up.
That's very true, and with the Amoonguss in the back, you can just easily probably just clinch up the game with a Rage Powder, and we see the knockoff.
We see Incineroar wake up already and get that knockoff up, being able to seal the game for Max, so we're heading into a Game 3 now. We see a spooky plate actually revealed there.
Spooky plate, and it is October. Ooh.
So something an interesting item choice, spooky plate. That's not really an item that is too commonly seen on Lunala, since obviously we see that it's Psych Up, so it's not going to be choice specs. Like a lot of the common ones do like to just run speed that and super offensive, but spooky plate giving you the 20% boost to your Moongeist beams could be the difference between killing things and not killing things, obviously.
That's very true, and we have to see how both players adapt to Game 3, because we saw like what worked, what didn't work for each player. So, will the Toxicroak make a return? Is my question, because Kartana was not brought that game.
Yeah,
if I recall correctly.
We did not see the Kartana brought at all that game. So, Toxicroak, questionable if it's actually going to be useful now with Poison Jab pressure onto Xerneas, because it is one of those mons that can pressure it. Another option is always Crobat, since Crobats do carry Taunt, and it does resist the Moonblast hits, so if nothing's brought to hit Crobat, that's also another possibility. Obviously, Raichu can throw off Thunders, but if there's no rain, you're fishing accuracy, like 70% could work, could obviously fail, but we've seen Lovely Kisses being fairly accurate so far.
I mean, that's very true. I mean, the Crobat being able to, since it is at about, I think, 130 base speed set, that's the same as Tapu Koko, so it's at 200 base speed, which is, I think, one of the fastest things in the format at the moment. So being able to fire off that taunt before the Xerneas can Geomancy is very critical.
Absolutely. So it's definitely a question of which these players are going to be bringing.
And we will see Max just flipping through his Pokemon, just trying to, eyeball his stats just to double check to see what he should lead, and trying to do some calculations in his head.
So here we are going into battle. I think we're probably going to see Smeargle Xerneas from Jeremy's side once again. The interesting play though is I don't believe he should switch out that Smeargle though, like he did in the first game. I think as smart as it is to try and get that, giving the free Geomancy over by not going for a fake out or anything definitely puts him on a huge pressure, as we do see Raichu Xerneas versus Smeargle Xerneas once again.
Same leads as last game. Very, very offense for both players, being able to pressure with Fake Out, Nuzzle, Lovely Kiss, and the Geomancies all in a possible turn. So we just have to see how this will play out. If, like you said, he probably should not swap out the Smeargle this turn, because we saw how that led to him playing a bit from behind from last game.
Yeah, obviously he did get the fake out the next turn to be able to stop Xerneas from doing anything, but you're still in a situation of something's either attacking or something's being nuzzled if the Raichu's still sitting on the field nice and safe. So we do see the fake out come out right away, this time into the Smeargle, breaking its Focus Sash, as we see the first Geomancy animation start to come up from Jeremy's, since it is the faster Xerneas we've seen.
Alright, and we can expect both Geomancies to fire off this turn, and the Smeargle having its Focus Sash broken. Very big, which means that if any attack goes into it, there's no more Lovely Kisses for the rest of the game.
And we see that it is the reverse, though, of Game 1, because Game 1 we saw that the Spiky Shield was actually fired off, which meant that instead Max is the one who lost his Focus Sash, and that ended up being his demise. So This time by actually breaking the focus sash on Smeargle, knowing that Smeargle, it can be easily focused into any of these turns that if it doesn't protect.
That's very true, Trevor, and especially since it probably tried to go for a Lovely Kiss this turn since he didn't go for a Fake Out or a Spiky Shield.
Or Follow Me. That could have also been a possibility, but it wouldn't. Follow Me, obviously, not doing too much on the first turn. But here we've got Nuzzle potential coming out, and we also have Moonblast potential coming out, so...
I mean, I think if I'm Max, I would try to Moonblast that Smeargle as soon as possible, and maybe Nuzzle the Xerneas to try and slow it down.
Absolutely. As we see, here comes the Incineroar onto the field, and we're likely going to be seeing a Moonblast into that slot because you never want to leave the Smeargle on the field alone.
Yeah, that's Smeargle. Being able to learn every single move in the game, so irritating, especially when you're facing off against one. And we will see the Moonblast go into what was the Smeargle slot, taking out this Incineroar. Oh, it does not.
It does not take out the Incineroar. Last time, I believe it had taken some slight chip potential from a Fake Out.
It may have. If it hadn't, it must have been a roll.
As we see Nuzzle being thrown into that slot. So this turn, we're still in the situation of either Nuzzle or Moonblast is going to be fired off this turn. Incineroar cannot stop both of them.
That's very true, and this Incineroar can just easily Fake Out the Xerneas and Jeremy can have his own Xerneas just target down that Raichu to try and get it down to Sash so he can take it out in the following turn.
Yeah, so we might see something like a switch out on Raichu maybe to try and preserve it for later and keep that Focus Sash there. As we don't see any switches though, as Fake Out goes into the Xerneas, which means that Substitute does come out though. It's right.
And Xerneas does flinch, and the Nuzzle coming out from the Raichu, going to the Xerneas slot, probably predicting not a Substitute, probably hoping it would go on the offensive with a Moonblast. Very, very interesting turn. Now, because now it's pretty even at the moment because the Substitute is up, there's no more Fake Out pressure, and nothing is paralyzed. And both Xerneases have their Geomancies.
Absolutely. So we are now in this position, though, that if I'm sitting there with Jeremy's side, I think I'm trying to switch back into another Fake Out, but a Moongus takes the field here. And if this Moonblast is getting thrown into the Incineroar slot, most likely, then that thing's going to drop from here, so...
But we do see the Protect coming out from Jeremy's side, and the Moonblast going into the Incineroar, picking up the KO this time, making sure that's one less Fake Out user on Jeremy's team.
So... From here, though, he's either got to throw in what we assume is probably the Lunala in the back, and here comes the Lunala.
All right, the question is, what will this Lunala do? Will it try to Psych Up, or will it go straight for the Psyshock, trying to eliminate the Payapa Berry right off the bat? Because we did see that Amoonguss lived a +2 Psyshock with that Payapa Berry.
Another interesting thing, though, is the Rage Powder can be used to redirect. If he does think that a Psych Up is being thrown off here, he could actually Rage Powder away the Psych Up so that it goes onto the Amoonguss slot, taking 0 stat boosts, and then it'll also redirect the potential Moonblast so that takes nothing as well.
That's a very good prediction, Trevor. I mean, anything could happen. I think what you said is true. I think we will be seeing a Rage Powder and maybe a Moonblast from Max's Xerneas into the Substitute just to try and break it, so he could probably try and see if he can Clear Smog it next turn.
As we do just see the Protect come out from Lunala, maybe fearing the potential Moonblast or Clear Smog into that slot, and nothing happening here as we see Moonblast being thrown off into the Amoonguss slot just to chip it down a bit.
And will we see the Moonblast go into the Substitute, breaking it, and the Clear Smog afterwards? Oh,
Moonblast into the Lunala slot, and Spore going into the Lunala slot as well. So Jeremy catching a break there with that Protect, taking both attacks into that slot.
Now that Amoonguss is under a half, meaning that it probably still can take a regular Psyshock, but it definitely cannot take a +2 Psyshock.
And the Moonblast, obviously, seeing as it did just over half by 1 damage, it's definitely in probably roll range. So we don't know exactly if it's going to hang on or not if it does take another Moonblast. Another option, obviously, is if it switches out, Regenerator comes back, but then you're giving Jeremy more breathing room to get back in this game.
That's very true. I mean, Max has to sort of try and keep up the pressure while clawing back up into an advantageous position. We do see Amoonguss swapping out to get that Regenerator, and Incineroar coming back in and firing off the Intimidate, which doesn't really help in this situation.
Yeah, in this matchup, I don't think Intimidate's really touching anything, but here comes the Moonblast now, likely into that Incineroar slot that just switched in, so we'll see that Incineroar drop instantly, just being used as kind of a free switch, and likely going to see a Psych Up in this next turn, but we do see the Moonblast first. So breaking the Shadow Shield and doing over 50% as Psych Up does come, being able to copy these stat changes so it also gets those Geomancy up stats.
I mean, I think it'll be very close to see if Max's Xerneas can knock out that Lunala with those Moonblasts, because we have to take the reduction from Shadow Shield into account, but now with the +2 in special defense, it may or may not live.
Absolutely. So from here we've got a situation of, does Max protect on his Xerneas as it might get doubled into? Or do you fear a nuzzle on potentially your Lunala and instead go into that slot and try and protect that slot? Or do you double Raichu trying to stop nuzzles?
That's very good, because especially like that Raichu still has its focus dash, so if you want to stop anything from coming out, you will have to double into that slot. Now the question is, what will Max's Xerneas do? Because it could either protect to try and see what his opponent's going to do, or I think it should maintain the offense and try and pick up some sort of KO, or at least break the substitute on Jeremy's side.
As we do just see Protect come out from the Lunala, so maybe trying to get a little bit of chip damage here. Nope, just the double Protect, trying to maybe scout just exactly what Max is going for here, so that next turn he can get an idea for it. As we do just get the Xerneas Protect as well, so he did successfully pull that Protect, and with a Nuzzle was going into the Lunala, trying to slow it down so that it could probably get picked up the next turn.
A very defensive turn. Now we're just going to have to see how the rest of this is going to play out, because Jeremy still has his Spirital, and saving it for late game with all those lovely kisses is going to be very annoying for Max if even one of his Pokemon gets hit with one of those lovely kisses.
As you see the Psyshock thrown off into the Xerneas, doing well enough damage, and the Moonblast follow-up as well, going right into this thing, just being able to cleanly pick it up.
There we go. Max Xerneas falls right now, and we do see the Thunder trying to get off as much damage as possible, going into the substitute, trying to break it. Will it succeed? And it does.
And it does successfully break the substitute with Thunder, something that even with those +2 boosts showing just how much damage Thunder can actually do with Raichu, showing that it does probably have some offense given that low health stat it's currently got.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume Jeremy does have this match, since both of Max's Pokemon currently don't have a lot of offensive presence, because Raichu is very frail and only has its Focus Sash, and the Amoonguss not being able to hit too hard and only having revealed, I think, Clear Smog, Spore, and Rage Powder.
And here we see the Psyshock go into this Amoonguss slot, and we're likely going to see a double into it, since the Amoonguss is currently the threat of putting things to sleep, so we do see the Pyapa Berry save it here, but the Moonblast follow-up will definitely do enough since we saw it do half health, so the Amoonguss also falls as we see the player's handshake here, because Raichu, while it can Thunder things and nuzzle away, it's really not going to be able to clean up this game on its own.
And I think that is pretty much game, as Raichu can't take on 3 Pokemon at once. So that was a pretty good game, back and forth with all 3 games. So man, I'm super interested for this last one, since it will be a mirror match in the finals.
You're very right, but from here I guess there is still one out, but if Jeremy recognizes the out, he can counterplay it by just substituting this turn, because Max's one out would actually be to nuzzle the Xerneas and basically paralyze everything to death.
But we do see the forfeit coming out from Max's side, and Jeremy will be moving on to the finals, facing off against Ashton Cox.
Yeah, so Max may be realizing that even if he tried to nuzzle down on the Xerneas there at the end, he's still got to play. He has to paralyze, or fully paralyze, everything every turn, and he has to Thunder kill everything with 70% accuracy.
I mean, I don't know anyone who has that much luck and can get that in a single game. So.
Yeah, that much luck, you're looking way too low on the percentages of being able to pull that off. That these 2 Geomancy boosted Pokemon are basically going to, any hit, you're basically dead at that point.
That's very true. Well, we are having both Jeremy and Ashton facing off in the finals using the
Correct.
same team, and also, as you said earlier, they're best friends, so likely the exact same
Yep.
team, move for move.
Yep, move for move, we've seen so far that every single thing on these will be the exact same, and it will basically be two best friends facing off against each other in the finals.
All right, so we'll be right back very shortly for possibly a player interview with Jeremy, and so stay tuned for that.